The restaurant hummed with evening conversations. Candles flickered on white tablecloths. Then a voice shattered the peace. A man in an expensive suit stood over a young waitress. Shouting, she trembled, dropped the menu. He kicked it across the floor. "Get me the manager, now!" Everyone saw. No one moved. Fear hung thick in the air, power and money. Nobody wanted problems. His name was Dmitry Volkov, 50 years old, owner of half the city's real estate. His face appeared on billboards, in newspapers, at charity galas where he smiled for cameras and wrote checks that made politicians grateful. Everyone knew his name. Everyone knew what crossing him could mean. Tonight, he'd arrived late, already angry about something. The wine was wrong, the table was wrong, everything was wrong. The waitress, barely 20, working her way through university, had committed the unforgivable sin of bringing the wrong appetizer. Now she stood frozen, tears streaming down her face, while Dmitry unleashed 15 minutes of rage over a plate of bruschetta. The other diners looked away, studied their plates. One couple actually got up and left, walking quickly past the scene like it might be contagious. The manager hovered nearby, wringing his hands but saying nothing. Dmitry Volkov was too important, too powerful, too dangerous. At a corner table, Nicholas watched. Nicholas was 40 years old, an accountant, not wealthy, not influential, not the kind of man whose name opened doors or silenced rooms. He'd come here to celebrate a small promotion, nothing spectacular, just a step up the corporate ladder that meant he could finally afford places like this without checking his bank account first. He watched Dmitry berate the waitress and felt something cold settle in his stomach. Not just anger, fear too. He knew what men like Dmitry could do. A word to the right person and Nicholas could lose his job, his apartment, his carefully built life. The waitress sobbed openly now. "I'm sorry, sir. I'm so sorry. Please." "Sorry?" Dmitry's voice carried across the restaurant. "You're sorry? Do you have any idea who I am? I could buy this entire restaurant and fire every incompetent idiot in it, starting with you." Nicholas's hands tightened around his napkin, his heart hammered. Every instinct screamed at him to look away, to stay safe, to let someone else handle it. But no one else was handling it. The manager continued hovering uselessly. The other diners remained frozen. The waitress stood there taking abuse that no human being should have to endure. Nicholas thought about his daughter, 15 years old, working at a coffee shop on weekends. What if someone treated her like this? What if she stood alone while a room full of adults did nothing? He stood up. His legs felt unsteady. His voice, when he found it, came out quieter than he'd hoped. "Excuse me." Dmitry turned, eyes narrowing. "What?" "I said, excuse me." Nicholas walked toward them. Each step felt like wading through deep water. "I think you've made your point." The restaurant went completely silent. Even the kitchen noises seemed to stop. Dmitry's face reddened. "Who the hell are you?" "Nobody important." Nicholas's voice grew steadier. "Just someone who can't watch this anymore." "Then don't watch. Mind your own business." "It became my business when you started screaming at a terrified girl in a public restaurant." Dmitry stepped closer. He was taller than Nicholas, broader. He used his physical presence like a weapon, the way powerful men do. "Do you know who I am?" "I know exactly who you are. Dmitry Volkov. You own half the city. You're rich and powerful and used to people doing exactly what you say." Nicholas met his eyes, somehow kept his voice calm. "But that doesn't give you the right to treat another human being like this." "I'll treat people however I want, and you'll sit down and shut up if you know what's good for you." The threat hung in the air, clear, unmistakable. Nicholas felt sweat on his palms. His daughter's coffee shop salary suddenly seemed very important. His small promotion, his carefully built life, all of it could disappear with one phone call from this man. But he didn't sit down. "No," he said quietly, "I don't think I will." Something shifted in Dmitry's expression. Confusion, maybe. People didn't say no to him, ever. "You're making a mistake," Dmitry said, but there was less certainty in his voice now. Maybe. But I'll make it standing up. Nicholas turned to the waitress. Are you okay? She nodded, unable to speak. He turned back to Dmitri. Look at her. Really look at her. She's somebody's daughter. She's working hard, probably studying hard, trying to build a life, and you're destroying her over bruschetta. How dare you? I dare because someone has to. Nicholas's voice remained steady, soft even, but something in it cut through Dmitri's bluster. You have money and power. That's wonderful. Use it for something better than terrorizing people who can't fight back. That's not strength. That's cowardice. The word hung between them. Cowardice. Dmitri's face went through a series of changes, red to white, fury to something else, something unexpected. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again, and instead of the explosion everyone expected, his shoulders sagged. He looked at the waitress, really looked at her, saw the tears, the trembling hands, the absolute terror in her eyes. Something in his face cracked. I'm sorry. The words came out rough, uncertain, like he hadn't said them in years. The waitress stared at him. I'm sorry, he said again, clearer now. You didn't deserve that. None of that. He looked around the restaurant, at all the frozen faces, at Nicholas. None of you deserve to witness that. He pulled out his wallet, dropped several $100 bills on the table. For her. And... He swallowed. Please forgive me. Then he walked out. The restaurant remained silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, sound returned. Breathing, whispers, the clatter of silverware. The manager rushed to the waitress, finally brave now that the danger had passed. Other diners began talking in hushed, amazed voices. Nicholas sat back down at his table. His hands were shaking. His untouched meal had gone cold. But he'd stood up. Weeks passed. Nicholas heard through mutual acquaintances that Dmitri Volkov had changed. Not overnight, not dramatically, but differently. He'd quietly donated to a workers' rights organization, started paying his employees better. One person who worked in his building said he'd actually apologized for past behavior, actually used those words. The waitress, her name was Elena, was still working at the restaurant. The manager had offered her a promotion. She told Nicholas, when he came back to check on her, that she felt different now, stronger, like she'd witnessed something important. You stood up, she said. Nobody ever does that. And he changed, not because you forced him, because you showed him who he was. Other diners from that night had started speaking up too, in small ways, standing up for service workers, refusing to tolerate cruelty. One voice had broken a dam. Courage is contagious. One voice can shatter a wall of silence. Dmitri learned that power without compassion is just tyranny. Nicholas learned that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. The changes were real, lasting. Weeks became months. The transformation held. Dignity doesn't require power, only courage. The courage to stand when others sit, to speak when others stay silent, to choose what's right over what's safe. When was the last time you stood up for what's right? Your voice matters. One person can change everything.